What's up, everyone? Week 2 of NFL DFS action technically started last night, but we only cover the main slate here. I am your host, Keith Flemming. I am joined by my good friend, sporting that Minnesota Twins hat, like they're actually good, which is impressive.
It'd
Joe
be
the Brain
nice.
Matz. What's going on, Joe?
I mean, nothing good in baseball, obviously, but I'm excited for week 2. I mean, give or take whatever happens to my Giants against the Cowboys, we've lost 19 of 20 or whatever it is against. But, hope springs anew for week 2. And then I feel like once week 2 happens, it's like if you're 0-2, it's like then it becomes, whether it's your own fantasy league or real life, then it becomes, it's getting dire here. The season might be over.
Easy, Joe, because unfortunately I have to keep reminding myself that the Falcons could be in that 0 and 2 and
Could
you're
be.
basically done category themselves. But
Well,
real
you
quick,
have the upside of if Tampa Bay loses, it's like it's fine. You're still in it.
is it? I mean,
Like
come on, Joe.
The Eagles could be 2-0, and the Commanders. Well, they lost, but yeah, the Eagles could be 2-0, and then the Commanders are ahead of us with a win. The Cowboys will be ahead of us with a win over us. It's like, no, it's over. Call it.
Well, I'm just saying, if you lose to Tampa at home without Worth and then lose to the
It's not great.
Vikings without Cashman, that's a pretty rough start to your season because that's two of their
Not
more
ideal.
important people. But again, we're here to cover the cash game plays for DraftKings Week 2, just the main slate, the 1 and 4 p.m. games. Be sure to check out all of the incredible work on Fantasy Six Pack. We'd appreciate it if you haven't already. Be sure to follow Fantasy Six Pack on YouTube, Facebook. I think we're on TikTok. I know we're on Blue Sky, all over the place. And you definitely need
Not
to
at all.
join the premium membership for just $8.50 a month. With, let's be honest, you can't get a fast food meal for that anymore. Uh, you get not only access to all of our premium articles, but also to our Discord, which the Discord is free if you want to join, but there are certain channels that you have to be a premium member to view and to talk with us about DFS. But again, week 2, we always discuss that you can't really, for guys like me and you who love to play trends, data, etc. It's a little wonky the first few weeks.
Yeah, the first month. Yeah.
And we saw that last week. Daniel Jones, one of the top quarterbacks, like just all over the place. Freaking Javonte Williams, on the top backs. Like there was tons of those situations. But I'm still trying to rely on both what I saw in week 1, but I'm also still looking at last year,
Yeah.
kind of as an indication to give me some heads up about some things. But let's get right into it with the QBs. And for me in cash this week, I don't really know how you can go with any other quarterback other than Justin Fields at 5,700. Um, Man, like, was that not the best game you've ever seen him play? And I'm not talking about obviously from fantasy. I'm talking about from a
I
football
mean,
perspective.
definitely since college for sure. I can't recall. I mean, how many times did they score 30 points when he was the quarterback in Chicago? I don't think it happened very often. And if it did, it probably wasn't as driven by his arm as it was in that game. Like he was doing everything you've
His
basically
first A
wanted to
dot of
see.
his career, Joe Matz with 10 plus yards.
There you go. So, which is shocking when you remember the quarterback he was in college. Although, you know, we've seen multiple times, it helps when you've got that Ohio State offensive line and those Ohio State wide receivers. But yeah, and then on the other side of that, I mean, granted, it was Baltimore, so don't overreact. I don't think the Bills will actually have like one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year. But if we wanted to see something that made us feel better about Fields, it would be hard for the Bills defense to have done more. I mean, they were, I believe, were the worst in the league in EPA per play. defensively, which makes sense because they got absolutely destroyed by Lamar and Derrick Henry, save for one fumble. So, yeah.
That
And then
Ravens
also,
offense, though, with Flowers, Henry, and Lamar is just another level.
It's absurd. It drove me crazy looking at like people's power rankings this week where it was like, and I was like, Bucky Brooks had the Ravens 7th. And I was like, what's the point of this? What are we doing if we think the Ravens are a top 5 team from that game? But also to stick back to fantasy as I stray away immediately, Buffalo is going to put up points. We've seen that. And this Jets defense just gave up a bunch of points to Aaron Rodgers. So
yeah, I'm more concerned about their performance than Buffalo's. But, all summer, Joe, I was telling people draft Justin Fields, draft Justin Fields. Yeah. I don't understand it. Like, if you want to have the conversation with me, is he a starting quarterback or is he, an average quarterback, good quarterback? Like, if you're talking about real skills, fine.
Yeah, will you win games in the NFL?
Very, very fair. I'll have that discussion and, try to convince me. But fantasy, what are we doing here? Like, 2022, he was 5th in fantasy points per game as quarterback. 2023, 6th. Last year with the Steelers, not really a lot of weapons and stuff surrounding him. He was 9th. He's always averaged at least 19 points per game since 2022 for the season. And like I said, 10 plus air yards, per throw, which is just for him.
It's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, completed 71% of his passes, his highest passer rating. And then most importantly, look at his price tag. He's $5,700. What is the first thing we want in cash is to guarantee a player is going to get 3x their salary, which we're not even talking about 18 points for a guy that has averaged at least 19 since 2022 every year. And then to your point, this is a Buffalo offense that's going to score points. This game, I think, is going to get, may turn into a shootout potentially. And we just saw Lamar Jackson run and not just throw all over this team. And Fields is like legit one of the only quarterbacks that you can say he's every bit or, almost every bit the runner that Lamar Jackson is. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get, 15 to 20 points. And the great part about Fields, he does this all the time. He is, as much as anybody, not named Allen or Lamar, likely to put up like 35, 40 points. So again, until they raise his price significantly with since 2022, at least 19.6 points per game, just like sign me up. I'm going to take it every time.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many, if it was just regular fantasy, we're moving the prices, how many guys on this slate would you take over him? Just straight up.
How many guys this week? Like, to me, other than Lamar and Allen, because Hurts, I mean, he's had a good run against Kansas City, but it's not a great matchup. Yes. So those, though, would be the only 3 that I'd even consider over Fields this week. Like, I love Burrow. I think he's going to bounce back. But again, if you're not running, which Burrow doesn't do, I would much rather have Fields.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's those 3 guys I would take over him. And then I feel like Burrow's kind of a toss-up. And then I'm taking Bo Nix, who looked shaky, and then Indy's defense looked lively. I'm not taking Mahomes against the Eagles with no wide receivers. Like, Brock Purdy is out, so that's out. I mean, Kyler Murray against Carolina, obviously there's potential he can run. Carolina's defense.
No, Carolina has given up 200-plus rushing yards in 6 straight games dating back to last year, Joe. 6 straight games.
I will say, if you're going to go, if for whatever reason you're going cheaper than Justin Fields, I will buy back in on Drake Maye at 50.
Yes, he was my other guy on my cash game cheat sheet. Go ahead, Joe. Preach to people.
He didn't really shit the bed in that game. He did okay. And the fact that Keyshawn Boutte had a big game, I think that's a great sign because, you're worried, is it just going to be Diggs? And it's like Diggs seems like he's still building up that chemistry. But Bootie's already got it. You're going to have the young guys continue to develop. And then, I mean, what more could you ask for an opposing defense than made Daniel Jones break records. The first quarterback ever. Now, granted, you have to like count kneel downs for him to be the only guy to do this, but if you count every possession, regardless of kneel downs, the only quarterback ever to lead his team to a scoring drive every single time throughout the entire game. That's what this Miami defense just did. And, do I think McDaniels is as creative of a play caller? No. Is the offensive line better in Indy? Yes. I think, if I remember right, Daniel Jones was the least pressured quarterback, which, man, that had to feel great for him.
Right?
So, yeah.
He's like, I'm in Bizarro world.
This is incredible. Do other quarterbacks get to play like this all the time? So, do I expect, 7 scoring drives? No. But, hey, Drake Maye is just twice as talented as Daniel Jones in like every aspect of football. And this Miami defense, this Miami team looks like it's just going straight into implosion at the start of the season. Normally it takes a few weeks. You lose a few games, you blow a lead, you get depressed, everything goes to shit. And they're like, no, immediately. We've got our star wide receiver who didn't want to be here in the first place. He's being accused of assault again. God knows what's going on with
That's
Tua.
just a Tuesday, though, for Tyreek.
Yeah, Tyreek, it is. Tua's already playing like he's concussed. It's awful. So, yeah, Drake Maye probably might also get some extra possessions if that Miami offense continues to look that way. And, hey, if the Miami offense actually shows up, Drake Maye's probably going to pass more. So, yeah, it's hard to find an easier matchup across the board than what Miami looks like right now. And, I will say we don't ever want to overreact to week one. Or even a couple weeks. Last year was like, oh, is the New Orleans offense for real? And it was not for real.
That was for 2 weeks, too.
Right. And then everyone studied the tape, and it was gone. And then Carr got hurt, and it was super gone. So, yeah, don't overreact. Like the Jets, are they actually going to be a plus offense? I don't know. Let's wait and see. But to your point, we know Fields, even if the offense around him doesn't function that great, he is always productive. So we love that. And then with Miami, it's what you saw week one. I don't think it wasn't that shocking, because if you were going to pick a team to lay that big of an egg,
it was for Peter Schrager.
It was for Peter Schrager. That's true. Hey, shout out. He went out on a limb.
Oh, I love Peter Schrager, but I remember hearing that going, man, Joe Matz is going to have a field day with that take. That, by the way, if you didn't listen to Simmons' podcast, that was his team that he picked out of nowhere that would, potentially make the playoffs. His team last year was Washington, so.
And in fairness, I talked myself into some of the, in Ashan being a play last week, because I thought it would take them like a month or two to melt down. And then, instead it happened right away. So, and again, don't get whatever you believed in, unless you have a really good reason to bail on it, don't bail on it. So again, you and I, big on Drake Maye. It just wasn't that bad. It was an okay week one performance. Now he gets that plus matchup. Again, if we're talking cash, generally spend the $500, get Justin Fields. It's a lot safer across the board. But if for whatever reason you're building your lineup, you're like, shit, I really need $500 more to get, whatever star player you need to get in there, Drake Maye is a pretty good fallback option.
Yeah, I would argue he's more than that. The other thing I just love about, again, the two guys I'm playing in cash this week is just such a high floor. Maye last week had arguably the worst game of his career. He still scored 15.8 points despite only rushing for 11 yards. So he got 1.1 points, from rushing, which that's the main reason he's
not going to be
the
the
cheat
norm.
Code. Like he's a guaranteed 15, 16 points. He's down there at 5,200. And what I like about both Fields and Maye is they're both cheap stacks with their number one target right now. Because with Garrett Wilson with Fields, and then Kayshon Boutte with Maye, which they have some chemistry. If you look now over the last 5 games, so this week and the 4 games that end last season, Kayshon Boutte is 4th in receiving yards and has had 7 targets or more in 3 of his last 4 and at least 90 yards receiving. So this isn't a fluke. It was kind of the same thing with Quentin Johnson, right, where he ended the season on a heater last year. He was in the top 5 in receiving yards the last month of last season. So I love pairing those two guys together in both of those. And then again, I just think that the 11, rushing yards, that's going to be higher. And he scored at least 16 points in 73% of his career starts. I know it's not a huge sample size, but he's in the double digits. And 5,200, if you're not good at math, that's only 15.6 points. And the 3X is always where I start when trying to build my lineups. Do I think this guy's going to score at minimum 3 times his salary? Because that's going to help you cash. Like if you do that, you're going to cash more times than not. And for me, Maye feels like a lock. And Fields, I could not believe when I opened it up. And he's 5,700. He went from, I knew he was going to be in a ton of lineups before I even saw his price tag. And to see him still under 6K with what he did, last week, and again, 19.6 points or more, 2022, 23, and 24 for his per game average. So to me, those are the 2 plays, and you can spend up. I love these weeks where my 2 favorite QBs are under 6K in cash.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is, again, talking about how cheap the combos are with Maye is Hunter Henry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he saw 8 targets last week, got 66 yards. What did Tyler Warren just do against this Dolphins defense? 7 receptions on 9 targets, 76 yards. So, again, you could see a repeat performance for Henry. And as always, if you're getting any production really from tight ends when they're in the lower levels, and then if they get that touchdown, we're hitting that three times that we're aiming for, that multiple of 3. So, yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, hey, if you want to put Josh Allen in your lineup and cash, especially, I'll never argue against it. But for the most part, it will be Fields, and then if it's not Fields, it will be Maye in my lineups.
Amen. All right, running backs, because that's it, right? Like that's pretty much it. We made that really easy. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, you were thinking. All right, so for the backs this week, it's hard to say I'm all in on CMC again at 7,500 when you think about, Mac Jones is now your starting quarterback. I think it's safe to say Steiner's offense, it's going to be tough. I mean, I know Shanahan's as good as anybody of, scheming up and next man up, having production. Nick Mullins has had great games in this offense. There's been a lot of guys, but it's just volume. I mean, volume is king. Quote to my man, Dave Eddy. It remains king. It'll always be king. And, what do you have, 33 touches right out the gate? And that was with Purdy on the field and Kittle, 30% target share. And again, that was with Kittle. I know it was only for a drive or 2. And then Jennings may miss this week. I think Ricky Purcell and Christian McCaffrey could easily see 10 to 15 targets each this week. And it's not like this New Orleans defense is good. We saw, Arizona do some damage on them. And I do. I think that CMC 7,500, they got me back in because the 3X numbers that we just spent 5 minutes talking about, CMC is always pretty much good for 22, 23 points, especially games that you think he's going to be targeted in the passing game a lot, which I think that's a lock.
Yeah.
I just I couldn't not start there. He is going to be in a lot of my lineups, particularly when I've already saved money by, saying my 2 QBs are both in the 5K range.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's probably, again, if we're just going straight up, throw the money out, I don't know that I'm taking a running back over him. I mean, again, it's Henry and it's Saquon, and I get the argument. Those 2 guys are fucking
And you never
awesome.
bench him in a million years. That's not what we're suggesting.
Yeah, right. Please don't ever do that. But if you're just talking this week, these matchups, I mean, listen, when Kansas City got obviously railroaded in that Super Bowl, but Saquon Barkley didn't go off. Derrick Henry, I mean, that offense looks fucking insane. But at the same time, that Cleveland defense has not been worn down by the ineptitude of their offense yet. So I think that'll continue to be a good, solid Jim Schwartz defense. Again, the Bengals obviously the history of starting slow under this regime. But still, you're holding the Bengals under 20 points. You're getting a lot of pressure. Does Henry have a huge game here? He could, but do I feel better about that than what you just said about Christian McCaffrey, about him being a touch monster in this game, especially with receptions, which we know won't happen with Derrick Henry? So yeah, then you factor in you're saving $500 to $700 depending on which those two guys you're going with. And yeah, to me, if I'm spending up here, I think it's McCaffrey. Obviously, Gibbs is right underneath him.
So you read my mind, like, because where are you at on Gibbs? Because little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, to see the usage rate week one. Like I understand you don't want to run them into the ground, but at the same thing, I know we talked about this earlier this week on the phone, but early in that game they were rotating it so much. I understand once Green Bay had control of the game, making that move, but he's your best guy. And then the other thing is just golf numbers versus man are so much better than teams that run heavy zone. Chicago, the highest man rate in the NFL week one. So J-Mo, St. Brown both just feast on it. I do think Detroit's going to pass the ball a little bit more in this game as well. So I ended up not putting him in very minute lineups. That's why I was curious if you did. There's a guy, though, in the high 6K range that I think is a smash play.
I'm kind of in a little bit of wait-and-see mode with that Lions offense because, obviously, we all know the coordinator swap. And then Tanner, was it Erstad, the Jets offensive coordinator? He came from Detroit. So there's already, I think...
that was impressive. That was the best, I thought, called game week one.
So I think there's already, after that week one, obviously going about as bad as it could have for the Lions, I think there's probably a few Lions fans who are like, oh, fuck, did we mess this up? But beyond that, if it was just that...
If you're the Lions, the answer is normally yes, Joe.
That's true, historically. But the other thing is, obviously, they had talent. It wasn't just the offensive coordinator left. They had talent on the interior offensive line leave. And, you look at Gibbs last week. He ended up with 19 touches because he had 10 receptions, which all went nowhere. 9 carries for 19 yards. And granted, based on what we saw last night, maybe this Green Bay defense is just...
I was going to say, that's awesome. Exactly... I felt the same way about Detroit until last night. And then I'm like, okay, maybe it's just Green Bay's really good.
That does make me feel better. But, I think this is... Despite that fourth quarter on Monday, I think this... Bears defense is going to be pretty solid. So yeah, if I'm spending up, I'm with you. I'd spend the extra 100 and I would get McCaffrey. If we're talking high sixes, are we skipping to James Conner against Carolina?
No. I am actually passing on James Conner this week. I like Trey Benson for the price, but Chase Brown. The volume. He was a top 5 among expected fantasy points last week. Obviously, that didn't happen, but you find out why thanks to Next Gen Stats. What an incredible stat. He had negative 43 rushing yards before contact last week. Lowest.
Again, that's why I don't spend for Henry, because that defense is coming to play right now.
That's the lowest single game rate since Next Gen Stats started tracking data. So, to have 43 yards, that's really like having 86. And I'm with you. I just think the Browns' defense is good. Yeah. He avoided 7 tackles, most of any running back last week, had the 10th best average yardage after contact. And I think Cincy's offense is going to get right this week. And I think he was first or second in opportunity share last week. Like, he's on the field. He is their every down back. And if you believe Cincy's going to bounce back, which I do, he had the highest opportunity share of any running back last week. 6,800, I think Brown's going to have a monster game this week, because I think his real issue last week was Cincy could not throw the ball, literally. And so they just kind of started, selling out on the run. I don't think
Yeah.
Jacksonville's going to be able to do that. Like, I think Carolina's offense is just really bad. I know, having Travis Hunter for some snaps makes Jacksonville better, but Chase Brown is set up for progression, right? Not regression. Like, he is going. I would be shocked if he doesn't have a big game because he's going to get the volume. He's got a good matchup, and again, the stat total, like in the terms of 43 yards on 21 attempts, looks awful. But when you hear that negative 43 yards, before contact, avoided 7 tackles, like, I feel pretty good, and was again 10th in average yard after contact. You don't think of Chase Brown as like this guy that is breaking off tackles, but if he's doing that and getting the volume, Jacksonville, love the matchup. He's a smash play for me.
Yeah, I think you're going to be hard pressed not to. Again, I think it's those two guys where you got Chase Brown, like you said, dominating the backfield, and then hopefully getting actual room to run this week against, like you said. I think this Jags defense might be all right, but everything is grain of salt if you're playing the Carolina Panthers. So I'm with you there. And then, again, I think we've been doing this every single year that we've.
Yeah, you don't have to twist my arm on Connor. I didn't mean to make it seem like I'm.
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, the Panthers, it's just year in, year out, play running backs against them because, the lack of talent there is just. I feel so bad for Giro Evero for having to be the defensive coordinator there.
Think about Derek Brown, who is legit one of the better defenders
the one
in the
guy.
league.
That's like the one guy where you're like, oh, he's really good.
He's like that kid in Little League that's the best player by far. Just like, man, you guys suck. Like, if you weren't so bad, we'd actually be pretty good.
It's it's like I said last week too when we talked about the Panthers and how we always want to target them, and then it was confusing last week because we didn't know what the Jacksonville running back situation would be, and obviously. That's already had a major change. And to your point, Trey Benson could also end up being a really good play here, potentially saving you some money. But, last year, who was dead last in fantasy points per game on DK against running backs? It was the Carolina Panthers.
6 straight games of 200-plus yards. Like, Joe, I was trying to think. That's so many yards, even with the uptick last year. Back to teams being more, run heavy, but 200-plus yards in 6 straight games. I could not believe it. Like, I kept going back one more week going, they couldn't have. And these weren't all running juggernauts. Like, the Falcons were one of the teams.
Right. The Panthers, unsurprisingly, based on that 200-yard streak there, nearly 500 more rushing yards allowed to running backs, not like, the quarterback ran. No, it's 2 running backs. And 4.5 points per game more allowed to running backs than anyone else. And you know who is 31st? The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hello.
So granted, Jaguars, obviously new coaching staff. Some things have probably changed there. But again, if we're basing off history, you got to feel good about both these guys in the mid to high 6,000 range. So do you have anyone else when we're going lower between Benson and there? Yeah. Are you in on the how do you feel about the ETN?
Oh, I can't trust him.
Now.
Were you just talking about Detroit? I feel that times a million with ETN. He may I would love to see it because I thought he was going to be really good when he came to the NFL, and boy was I wrong. Like, he just is not. But he is like a similar style back to Bucky Irving, Rashad White, guys that have seen success and, Liam Cohen offense. But it's Kyren is the guy for me, 6,300. And I'm kind of shocked that his ownership looks low. 6,300 at Tennessee. Right. Again, opportunity share. Only Chase Brown had a higher opportunity share than Kyren. Where are you Blake Corum guys at? We're now 2 years into everybody saying Blake Corum is going to steal Kyren's job.
People just refuse to believe in Kyren. It's amazing.
And this is, want to talk about production. He's now scored 7 rushing touchdowns in his last 7 games and a remarkable 32 rushing touchdowns since being named the starter in 2023. So you're talking about 2 years and a game, 32 rushing touchdowns. He's rushed for 50-plus yards in 16 straight games. We just watched R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins torch this Tennessee run defense, 133 yards and a score on just 22 carries. And going back and looking at it, most of Kyren's monster days are when the Rams are able to get up early and the game is really never close, which I think Cam Ward is going to have some issues. I think this Rams defense, people are sleeping on it. Like, I think it's legit.
That pass rush is not something to be toyed with, and that's going to be a problem based on what we saw from
just last week.
Offensive line.
Yeah. And for poor Titans, though, you're arguably getting, I think maybe by the end of the year, the two best pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, like, welcome to the league, Cam Ward.
True.
So I just think Kyren is 6,300 is kind of nuts.
Right.
Again, when you think about the opportunity that he gets, which over 90%.
And the game script.
And then the game script's going to be positive. And McVay is not one of these people. Like, if he's up 10 points, Kyren's going to get like 60, 70%, of the basically plays for the next drive or two. Like, he's okay with just running it. And we know once they get in the red zone, and especially inside the 5, they're going to hand it to Kyren. So I love Kyren. And then everything you said, like with Benson, about Connors, same thing with Benson. Yeah. Dave Eddy thinks I'm crazy, and I get it. And he only says this because it's cash. But again, we're looking for 3X, right? So you're talking about not even what would be 14 points. It's 13.8 points. So he was one of 6 running backs last week to average 2.5 yards per carry before and after contact. The run split was a lot closer than I expected. It was 60-40. Connor outtouched him 2-1 inside the 10, but Benson outproduced him. Again, I have to remind people, we just saw this Panthers defense get wrecked by a run game that nobody expected to be elite this year. And Benson, has the burner to take one to the house. We saw Etienne do that last week with a 70-yard touchdown run. Benson had a 50-yard run in week 1. And then something I didn't even realize, he officially took over the third down role. So not only are they rotating drives where Benson is occasionally getting to be, the lead back on drives, but he officially took over the third down role and was on the field for every third down other than the few that James Conner did stay in there. I'm assuming those were like third and short. So I think this game gets out of hand, making it more likely they lean on Benson late. And I just think if he gets, say, 15 touches, which I think is realistic, I think not only, again, is like the 13, 14 points very realistic, but another guy that could potentially, go 20, 25 points. And if I'm wrong, like I already told Dave Eddy, he is the king of cash. I'm like the prince of cash, trying to, take his throne. I will tell him he was right. I was wrong. He's attractive. I'm not good looking, the whole Happy Gilmore spill. But I believe in my veins that if Benson's going to get at least a 60-40 split, which that's what we saw week 1, he can easily score 15 points against this defense.
Yeah, I think you're going to, unsurprisingly, you're going to struggle to find anyone that I would feel as good about once you get below, probably Charbonnet, like at 5,100. So that's a whole, $600? That's just like, all right. Like there's no one under 5. Again, anytime we find a guy under 5 at running back where we're like, I actually feel pretty good about this, it's not a total shot in the dark, then that's a play that I'm going to put in some lineups just because it's so rare and it's such an advantage.
Yeah, he's projected to be at 1% ownership and MME this week. So imagine in cash games. Like, it's one of those deals that, and this again, where I think kind of our strategy differs a little bit from Dave. I'm okay with taking those shots in cash. I know that's technically not, the plan to continually and consistently win money in cash, but I feel good enough that I'm going to do, well in one or two of the other lineups that I am going to take a shot. And, maybe 1/8 of, the entries in terms of dollars by playing a guy like Benson and hoping that lineup goes off. Because not much else is going to change. Like the lineup I built with him, it just means that I had both CMC and Gibbs in that lineup, right? Because I'm like, let's just go crazy upside, but still know that there's a lot of volume there. They're all pass catchers, etc.
Right. If we're countering our shot in the dark with guys that are guaranteed high volume, then I'm going to feel a lot better about it. Because obviously you don't want to take in cash games. We're not trying to take like 3 risky plays.
Right. Yeah.
We're taking the risky play so that we get a high floor, high ceiling play where we're getting both. Which again,
and I don't think 4,600 is that risky. I mean, we spend 2,500 on defenses every week, right? Like it's literally $2,000 more than that. It's saving me money to have more expensive plays elsewhere. And again, in my soul, I feel like that Benson's gonna have a good week. And part of me also just likes, being able to look at people and be like, "That's right." Like I just knew. Ben Crenshaw. I got a good feeling about this.
One other guy I want to throw in there.
Yeah, of course.
It hurts me to say this, but listen, I don't believe in Javonte Williams long term as a fantasy running back. But again, he's clearly got the goal line role because we just saw him score 2 touchdowns. And now he gets my New York Giants. And listen, part of me is like, I think we can do this. This Cowboys team's not that good. Blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, Andrew Thomas still out, which means James Hudson's still at left tackle, who gave up.
I felt so bad for you. I saw that he was questionable yesterday, and I was like, ooh, we could see Jackson Dart with Dayball's comments earlier this week, because he only would confirm that Wilson was starting. And I really think it was if Thomas played right, there's a chance Dart got in if it got out of hand.
Yeah, but unless Russell Wilson gets hurt, he should stay on the bench until Andrew Thomas gets back. Because Hudson was a disaster. The rest of that line actually last year without Thomas played not horrifically bad. Don't get me wrong. It was a bad offensive line last year. But that was maybe the worst game they played in the last year. So that's scary. The Cowboys, listen, I've seen some Cowboys fans being like, we made adjustments. We figured it out in the second half. It's like, all right, you got an extra hour of rain delay to figure out the Eagles. So, no, I don't think this Cowboys defense is great. But good chance the Giants will, as they have done for like 3 years or kind of like 9 of 10 years, struggle to score the ball, which means good chance Javonte is going to be in a plus game script. The Giants they added some talent on defense, but what was that talent? It was a safety. It was a starting corner. It was a big-time pass rusher. You know what they didn't add? Guys to stop the run. And who's already out? One of the 2 inside linebackers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This is a team that was bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed on DK last year to running backs. There's no reason – and second worst, I think, in explosive play rate, which granted maybe Javonte Williams is not the back who takes advantage of explosive play chances. But –
he had a big run last week.
If he has an 80-yard, 2-touchdown game, I will not be surprised in the least. So at that 5,800 mark, again, you could take the risk on ETN, who got, I think, like 60 to 65% of the snap share last week. That probably bumps up this week. Maybe long term. Again, not a guy I trust, but he's a play right below him. But, man, Javonte just feels safer in cash games because I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't score at least a touchdown. So he's getting us double digits. And if he gets to, or if this Giants defense just really sucks, who knows? Could he get the 100-yard bonus for us? Maybe. I wouldn't rule it out as a Giants fan. So he's another guy. I'll probably put him in at least one lineup just as, at least it's there if it happens, if he helps crush my soul.
Your team's getting the crap beat out of him.
Yeah, then at least there will be upside there. Yeah. So he's another play for me in that mid-tier.
All right, so the wide receiver position, I have a pretty small pool. Lamb was a late addition, 7,800.
I was going to say, Cee Dee Lamb should be in there.
He's just, I mean, the more I thought about it, my main concern, honestly, with what you're just talking about is y'all get up really big. But
Right. It just
I think the Cowboys are going to pour it on if they can. Like they're a team that's trying to find, I think, swagger and confidence. You got Pickens, like you got all these new offensive pieces that I don't think they're going to hold back. And regardless, Lamb has just destroyed you guys for his career, and
it
he's
doesn't go
arguably
well.
one of the best wide receivers in football. And I don't know why they start the receivers so cheap. I keep like kind of freaking out at these prices. The other thing is just 7,800 seems very reasonable for a guy that just scored 21 points in the opener, and that's against one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, and again, the other thing with CD is you look at it and you go, "Oh, 21 points." It's like he had a bad game and he had 21 points.
That's what I'm
He
saying.
dropped what 3, depending on how you define it. It's like 3 or 4 passes he dropped. Like that should have been a 30-plus monster game that maybe gets the Cowboys a win. So, yeah, I mean, I will say he didn't tear us up quite as badly as he used to back when Wink Martindale was just trying to throw crazy blitzes at Dak. And listen, I know everyone shits on Dak, but the one thing that Dak is legitimately, if not elite, then close to it, is processing.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we got away from that defense, I know some people get frustrated because you watched last week where every 2nd and 15 turned into a 15-yard gain for Washington. But Dak destroyed the Wink stuff, and so did CD. So it's not the guarantee it would have been 2 years ago, but it's still, again, unless we can get them into 3rd and longs, and then you can get all 4 of our pass rushers on the field at the same time, and you can do some creative stuff with them while not having to blitz anyone, sure, maybe we hold the Cowboys offense in check. But the history of this matchup with Dak, with CD is it goes very well for the Cowboys. So, yeah, again, you can talk me into Chase at 81 because he's Jamar Chase, but I like the CD play. Like, again, Puka, I'm interested to just see if, like, as long as Stafford's out there, is Puka just, like, a top 3 wide receiver? Like, his efficiency was insane. But that Titans defense showed up. Granted, Bo Nix is not Matt Stafford, but that Titans defense showed up early last year. They showed up early last year. I think it's a well-coached group. I think the talent is maybe not totally there. But, yeah, again, and like you said, our one worry is the game script. But if we end up in a situation where the Cowboys are in that run the ball all the time game script, it's probably because CD already went for 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half. So, yeah, I like the CD play. If we're spending way up there, that's a play I really like.
I mean, do you have any other? Because again, the guy that I'm playing next, and he's in the most lineups because I'm playing Fields everywhere, is Garrett Wilson. It's easy to forget he played in college with Fields, so these guys have a true connection.
Legitimately forgot that till you mentioned it last week, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right."
That I think it makes a difference. I think it also just makes a difference that Fields, I think, feels like an organization wants him. You know what I mean? For maybe the first time since his rookie year.
Is this his Jared Goff situation with the Lions, where it's like, oh wait, like these guys want me here? They believe in me? Like,
and then for Garrett Wilson, who has always obviously believed he is one of the best wide receivers in the league, he now not only has a guy that he knows is going to have his back and get him the ball, but Fields can throw the ball down the field. I saw it in college. It hasn't worked out that well in the NFL.
Well, we did see it the one year with DJ Moore, which
that's true.
I was confused when everyone was like, Garrett Wilson, you got to fade him. They're not going to pass the ball as much. And I was like, well, Davante Adams is gone. And we've seen Fields feed when he is a receiver who's just way better than the guys around him. He's not afraid to feed that guy. So, I'm with you. This is one where what we saw week 1, I believe in it. Like, I think Garrett Wilson has the potential to be a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy this year.
So how about some nerd data? Because I love this stuff about Garrett's first week.
All in.
100% of the snaps, 100% of the routes. That's a good start. 7th target rate, 3rd target share among wide receivers. Again, the 9 targets, I think it was 7 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. This was the two big ones for me. 36% first read target, which that's good. I think it was like 8th among wide receivers, but he killed both zone and man. 3.19 yards per route run versus zone, 4.89 yards per route run versus man. And, we talked about it. The Jets did an unbelievable job of like using motion, pre-snap, and other things to get Garrett Wilson in one-on-one matchups, and they exploited the defense. And this is a Bills D that on just 15 targets to the Ravens gave up 11 receptions for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns to the wide receivers. So the fact that I love Fields, pairing him with Wilson, like, let's go. I mean, this is the dream, man. You're under 12-5, and I've got, I think, a top 5 quarterback and wide receiver in my lineup this week.
All right. Can you guess who my favorite play is at wide receiver this week?
Garrett Wilson?
No, but I mean, he would be right there.
Damn, I thought I convinced you.
I think he's second now. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who gets to play the exact same defense that Garrett Wilson just played against. And again, is the Steelers' defense better than that? Probably, because they've been better than that for like 40 years.
You see, Joey Porter's already been ruled out. They've got 3 different defenders that were ruled out today for this weekend.
Do you know what JSN's target share was last week?
What was it?
It was 59%.
Do you know what his first read target share was?
I don't know. What was that?
65.7%.
So, yeah, obviously the downside there is, he had 13 targets, which is really good, but not like, oh my God, he had that many targets. So obviously this is a team that understandably I think is going to try and be run oriented because Sam Darnold is their quarterback. But every time Sam Darnold is dropping back, he is, as we just said, there's one guy he's looking to throw to first, and that is JSN. And again, when you have a guy in the slot, it's so much harder to just bracket him, to take him off the board, to limit those targets. So I'm all in on the JSN play. I mean, yeah, you give me that Wilson JSN play, we're talking 12-5. And I think we got 2 guys that I would probably bet on to finish top 10 in this slate. So 2 top 10 receivers, and we're spending under 13,000. I'm feeling really good about what I can do with the rest of my lineup.
The other thing that I loved about JSN last week, his ADOT was almost 13 yards. And one thing we complained about last week, Joe, right, was he was all over the place. He'd have weeks where it was 10 yards, and then he'd have weeks it was like 3. Yeah. And him, being able to make plays down the field is huge. And I'm not the biggest like Sam Darnold guy, but I do think that was more on the bad side, right? Like I think most weeks he's going to be better than he was in the opener. And I think people also are just kind of sleeping on that San Francisco defense. Like I think it's going to be a pretty good defense. Having Saleh back is a huge deal.
I was going to say Robert Saleh is a difference maker. Again, even look at the Jets for, as much as we, people shit on Robert Saleh for how that tenure went. What happened in that defense after they fired him? That went from an elite defense every year he was there to a bottom of the barrel defense.
And then week 1, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers conspiracies and all just lit them up. So there's definitely something there. I do want to mention Davante Adams, 5,900 at Tennessee. Again, did not have a good week 1, but a ton of data that likely for progression this week. I mean, he still had a 28.6 target share, 31% of the Rams' air yards, and he had the highest separation rate among wide receivers with at least 25 routes week 1. He also had the 5th highest route win rate among wide receivers week 1. And the Rams faced one of the best pass rushes in the NFL in the Houston Texans. They had the 7th quickest time to pressuring the quarterback last week, to pressuring Stafford. This week, they play a Titans team who only pressured Bo Nix on 9% of his dropbacks. And the Titans took almost a full 0.8 seconds longer to get pressure on Bo Nix than the Texans did to get on Matt Stafford. Stafford is the kind of quarterback, if you're giving him, basically almost a second longer to get rid of the ball, he's going to hurt you. I do think that he's going to have some big connections, and all those numbers to me are very encouraging for Adams. Like, yeah, he didn't have a very good opener, but all the numbers are there. I still think Davante can play. If you saw the beautiful connection where Stafford threw the ball, I think it was a kind of a slant towards the sideline where he let go of it so quick. I didn't even know if he was throwing it to Adams, and it was just a beautiful connection. And this Cardinals D just gave up 17 receptions to New Orleans Saints. Or no, excuse me. The Tennessee, we saw obviously Denver, they had some pretty big plays in the passing game as well. So I think Davante is a big bounce back. 5,900 for a guy with almost a 29% target share and a passing game that I think is going to feast this week after a really tough week 1 matchup.
Yeah. I mean, again, Davante is just still really good. Like, you want to talk about a guy who's he does all of the things that make a wide receiver age gracefully. Incredibly intelligent route runner, super consistent hands, and then he's got Mr. No-look passes thrown to him. So, yeah, it didn't happen last week, but it will happen. It will happen. Like, he's going to have his big weeks. So that's a combo to bet on. Obviously, if you don't like Cee Dee Lamb, I think you can throw George Pickens in. I think at least one of those guys will be super productive. I don't think it's a secret that the Giants have a giant problem at cornerback too. Deonte Banks is not even the starter right now, who we drafted in the first round 2 years ago. So, yeah, there's issues there. CD, obviously, he could go to the slot, which will get him away from Paulson Adebo, but Drew Phillips is actually probably our best corner. So there's, again, chance for George Pickens there. I think Khalil Skakir just remains, if you're just talking about give me a guy who will 100% get me.
How much is Skakir?
He is 5,500 against the Jets, which again,
I don't know, man. You like him more than like McMillan, Boudier, and then again, Cedric Tillman, I've got to go over him before we move on to wide receivers.
I mean,
he's got an incredible matchup.
Here's the thing. Is the upside as high as Tedero McMillan? No, obviously it's not. But I think that Cardinals defense has some good DBs. I like if T-Mac has a 3-point game,
the Saints receivers had 17 receptions last week. I got ahead of myself. But I mean, to me, that's significant. That doesn't sound like a great pass defense when Spencer Rattler is completing 17 passes to basically Chris Olave and Shaheed.
I mean, what did that amount to, though? I guess would be part.
I mean, it wasn't much, but again, that's why you're asking me though, because I understand what you're saying with Skakir is it's a safe play because of the the low or the high floor, but I think McMillan, has that. He's actually a little bit cheaper, and then like again, Boudier and Tillman are, I think, if you look over not just this game, but there's sample sizes. Boudier again the last 5. Tillman, it goes back even further since the Amari Cooper trade.
I do like the Tillman play.
He's getting the volume that Skakir does, I think, with more upside. I mean, Tillman saw 8 targets, 552 and a score. But the big thing, again, the nerd data, top 10 in separation score, route win rate among wide receivers, and in the game since the Cooper trade, averaging 9.6 targets. I think we're at 6 games now. 5.8 receptions, 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues. He's averaging more targets, receptions, yards, and fantasy points than Judy in those games. They've played in both of them. And then the Ravens team ran man defense 41% of the time. Week 1, there was only like 4 teams that ran it more. Tillman versus man, week 1, 25% target rate, 2.08 yards per route run, 41.7% first read target share, 2.50 fantasy points per target. And we think they're going to be down in their throwing. Like Tillman at 4,300 is in just as many lineups as Garrett Wilson for me. Like, I just think he is a smash play because we're talking about a 6-game sample size of basically 10 targets, 6 receptions, and 18 fantasy points.
No, I'm with you in that. Again, we don't want to put a lot of people in that Browns offense into any lineup anywhere. No. But the guy that we should probably be putting in is Cedric Tillman. I 100% agree with you there. Now, I do want to just give my brief, hey, Khalil Skakir.
Yeah, I interrupted you. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
Listen, I ultimately agree with you. If I'm choosing one, I'm more often going to choose T-Mac because, again, the guy saw 9 targets. Legitimate reason that he was
catch he had on the sideline was ridiculous.
Yeah. And obviously, hey, I always, as a Wildcat,
that's right. It's a double
T-Mac in every lineup I can. But Khalil Skakir, one of only 2 players in the league to run 80% of the routes and have at least 75% of those routes be from the slot. The other guy was Hunter Renfrow, who's just literally incapable of playing on the outside. So Shakir is going to be in the slot. Who does he completely avoid if he's in the slot? That would be Sauce Gardner. This is not the week to be hey, Keon Coleman had the breakout. Let's keep it going. No, not happening, guys. So, and again, do we expect the Bills to put up a lot of points on the Jets? I think we do. We expect them to put up a lot of points on basically everyone. So, yeah, obviously, hey, James Cook, always going to be a good play. Josh Allen, you don't actually ever have to pair him with anyone because
the Jets' run defense was pretty good last week. It was just they couldn't stop the pass.
Right. Which, again, was with Aaron Rodgers, who is not Josh Allen at this point in any way, shape, or form. So, again, I don't want to do the Coleman play. I don't want to just bet on Josh Palmer either, who, again, will also usually be on the outside. I'll never trust the Bills' defense
or tight ends ever.
Right. And it's sure, Kincaid will have a couple random games, I'm sure, where he goes off. But, again, the safe play always in this offense is Khalil Skakir. So if you're taking big swings somewhere else and you're just give me that guy who's getting me into the double digits. If he catches a touchdown, we're totally in play for that multiple of 3 of his price. So, yeah, again, he's a safe play. If you want to go higher floor or lower floor, higher upside, T-Mac is $100 underneath him. Like you said, Ricky Pearsall is at 5,300.
God, he's going to see so many targets.
And who else are you throwing to in that offense? So, yeah, I have Ricky Pearsall on all my fantasy teams. He will be going into lineups because, who else are they throwing to? And, I'm with you.
Uncle Ted likes Brandon Cooks, which, again, for cash, not bad. The Mooney play, I'm so excited. Darnell Mooney has not played yet with Michael Penix, which is wild. I forgot that he missed
did not remember
the last 3 games of the season last year with an injury. So this is his first time actually playing with Penix. As much as I've talked about London, being the perfect, Penix weapon, Mooney, the way he can make plays down the field is going to be fun as well. Unfortunately, though, for us who's doing just the main slate, we can't pick any Falcons, which is probably good for me this week anyway.
We would be talking about some Falcons and some Vikings for sure if that was on the slate for us.
All right, let's do tight ends. I know you got a game to get to. Joe's going to the Arizona game. That's why we started an hour early this week.
The battle for the true Wildcats in the Big 12. Is it us or is it Kansas State? Let's find out.
So I've got a tight end under 4K who we should have seen this coming. And I'm mad at myself that it took a week for me to realize it. Saw a 20% target share, 33% target rate, 3 design targets, most of any tight end. 5 receptions, 12.5 fantasy points. And if you watch the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago, despite spending the number 4 pick in the NFL draft, the highest, I believe, ever, definitely in the century for a tight end, it would drive you mad that they were going to Jonnu Smith more than Kyle Pitts. But then last year, Jonnu Smith kind of proved Arthur Smith knew at least something. I was going to say,
we found out something about that.
And the two are reunited, and it feels so good. He's seen at least 6 targets in 8 of his last 13 games in the Arthur Smith offense dating back to 2023. And now he's facing a defense that, touchdown to George Kittle, he played 1 drive. Some dude named Jake Tongs, who had never caught a pass in the NFL, he had 3 catches and a touchdown. All told, the Niners tight ends, 8 passes on 8 targets, 2 scores versus Seattle. Now you get Jonnu Smith versus them. Seattle really struggled versus the run week 1. Well, it's a good thing you're playing Pittsburgh because they don't have any good running backs. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. He's pulling a full Arthur Smith, Kenneth Gainwell out of nowhere with, I think, 8 rush attempts week 1. Arthur is going to Arthur, but I do feel confident he's going to throw it to Jonnu Smith. I think it's a great matchup. I, like you, think that like both offense. I don't know if Pittsburgh's offense can look as good as it did week 1, but I think it is going to look good. And with Pittsburgh now like riddled with injuries, plus again, they made Justin Fields look like Joe Montana in the mid-80s last week throwing the ball. I do think Jonnu is a great play at 3,900. And like this is another week where like if you want to play McBride, not gonna like argue at all. I'm worried a little bit about the game script because you're paying, a premium, basically $6,000 for them. And I think they're gonna just smoke the Panthers again. They have literally given up 200 rushing yards or more in 6 straight games. I just can't believe that going back to last year.
Great.
But I love the value of, you mentioned Hunter Henry earlier. Is he 4K or 3,900? I know he's right in this range as well.
He's 4K.
Yeah, 4K. And then like the other guy for me this week, there's really just 2, is Harold Fanning Jr. I didn't believe the hype. I'm an idiot. Again, I'll admit it. And it took 1 week of watching him, and not to be insensitive, he reminded me a lot of Aaron Hernandez. Like a lot, especially, and hopefully he doesn't end up like Aaron Hernandez off the field, obviously, but I mean on the field, the way they used him. Right, no kidding. I mean, 72% of the snaps, 67% of the routes, 21% targets, 1.97 yards per route, and what I love, 29% of the time he was lined up in the slot, 6% in the backfield. The rest obviously lined up more of as a traditional tight end. He had a rush attempt, 2 screens thrown his way. The Browns know, like, we got to get this dude the ball. And this is a defense that made Dalton Kincaid fantasy relevant. And, like, how difficult is that, people? How long have we been clamoring for it? And that was pretty much all done on 1 drive. But they gave up 6 catches on 6 targets for 68 yards and a score. I think Fanin 3,100, like this is the last week you get, basement price Fanin, because I do think his volume's going to be big. His ownership's going to be up a little bit. And I do think he's got again, what does he need for his 3X? 9.2 points.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Write it up. So like, depending on where I go with my like running backs and receivers, that's basically a difference on whether I play Fanin or I play Jonnu Smith. And the reason for that, we'll get into it when we close up with the defenses, but it's the 1 week I'm spending on a defense. Like I am.
Ooh, okay. It's an interesting one. I mean, you covered a lot of the stuff that I think needed to be said. Again, like Fanin was a guy I threw in, like I was like, he's probably just an MME play last week. Because the risk was like he does nothing because he's a rookie tight end in his first game. And then he was immediately a featured part of this offense. So, yeah, I'm with you. Again, like if you're someone who digs into the draft, that was a guy who stood out. You're like, hey, he might not ever block anybody, but who gives a shit? Like, he's going to be a weapon.
Do you know he came to the Fantasy Football Expo? Did I tell you that? Or excuse me, his parents did. Yeah, like he's from Canton, Ohio.
That's kind of even cooler.
He's from Canton, Ohio. Like, so he's like known about the Expo being there for years and stuff, and just it's crazy. I was like, who are those people talking to? That's Harold Fanning's parents.
That's awesome. That makes me like even more in. One guy that I think he's probably a layoff this week, but I think it's someone to keep in mind going forward is Juwan Johnson. When the 49ers are as tough of a matchup for tight ends as it gets, obviously
Fred Warner
linebackers. Yeah, like we don't want to fuck with Fred Warner. So probably lay off this week, but that is a guy who week 1 had 11 targets, a 27% target share. Keep him in mind going forward.
For sure.
Like you said, game script, sure, you could be a little bit worried, but like Trey McBride is $1,000 more than every tight end. But if you look at who he is talent-wise, who he is.
If Carolina can score, he could have a monster game.
Like, Carolina gave up 11 touchdowns to tight ends last year. Unsurprisingly, that was the worst in the NFL. Like, this is the team that does, again, they're pretty much just
the gift that keeps on giving, too.
Like, and again, like, think about how often teams were passing against Carolina. Because they
were running for the most rushing yards in the NFL. Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, again, I'm not too worried about game script just because again, he's the number one option in the offense. It's a team that can't cover tight ends. We're talking cash games. It's like this is the one guy who is truly safe at tight end right now. Like you said, Hunter Henry, we like to play.
Where you at on Ferguson?
Yeah.
He was the one guy I considered that I did not mention.
Ferguson could be a play. I mean, again, Dak, like I said, lights out. I can't remember if he's ever lost to the Giants, actually, because the last time we beat the Cowboys was a time that Dak was not playing. And again, one of our inside linebackers is out already. So now Okereke is still there. We do have, I think, some decent safeties. So I would probably stick to the guys that we've said where I just spend up $100 to get Jonnu, or
$100 or $200 more on
Henry.
Yeah.
Or like again, we like that Fanin play. The Ravens bottom 10 last year in receptions and yards allowed to tight ends. So again, last week was not like, the Ravens are a great defense. This was a fluke. It was they are probably going to be one of the better defenses. But even last year when that was true, this was a team that would give up points to tight ends.
And they struggle holding leads. I don't understand that either, but
it's one of those things, like the argument, I guess, if you're a Ravens fan, is like, we blow leads, but we also have huge leads all the time. And agreed. But I think it was Bill Barnwell actually did like the math on, I forget if it was like 2 score leads or what it was, but it was like the Packers, the Chiefs, the Bills. It was like they were winning like 95% or more of those games. And the Ravens weren't terrible. They were winning. It was like if you had a 90% chance at any point in the game to win it.
Right.
How often were you actually closing? And all those teams were like, we're actually above average. We're hitting 95. And the Ravens were right at 90. It was like, wow. So, it's
Uncle
weird.
Ted knows, Joe.
Don't know what's up there. I hope they figure it out as someone who put futures bets on them to win the Super Bowl. But
they will. I'm not worried about it. Like I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, if we're going super cheap, we're gonna ride that Fanin trade for as long as we can. Absolutely.
I mean, don't forget, people, Buffalo never loses at home anymore. So I know it was like they lost it in the worst way possible, but I do think there's something to the fact that they were up double digits in the second half in Buffalo, a place that is just like it's gotten to be almost impossible to win. So we'll do defense and get you out of here. So hopefully we don't make you late for the game. Go Wildcats. The defenses, again, what is like the theme on this show? Just go down to the bottom.
Right.
You pick a defense and you go with it. I think this is the one slate where I don't like that model because I think that the Niners and the Broncos and the Rams are all such great matchups that I would be shocked if they don't do some damage with who they're playing and the way their defense is. I guess Denver would technically be the most risky of those three because I think Indy's offense actually can, as we proved last week, move the ball. But I do want to see, like, let's see what they do against Denver. Like, yeah, you did it versus Miami. Can we see you get some legit defense?
100%.
But I don't see the Titans or the Saints really doing anything against the defenses they're playing when, again, I think Seattle is actually likely to be proven to be much better on offense than last week. It was just the defense of San Francisco was really good. Again, Robert Saleh. And like the Titans, yeah, they were able to move the ball and be in it, but I just think this is a coaching mismatch with the Rams. Like now that the Rams have talent on defense, it's different. It's not just, Aaron Donald. Now they have a plethora of these guys that can really make plays. And when they get pressure, man, they can just dial up all kinds of different stuff. And then on top of that, I just hate all the matchups at the bottom. Like the Browns at the Ravens is probably the one that I would consider because I'm with you. I think their defense is elite, but they're at Baltimore.
Stay away from the Ravens, yeah.
And it's
Stay away from the Ravens.
I mean, it's just like I'm not doing it. Carolina's defense, like again, made Travis Etienne last week look like Gale Sayers. The Titans, I don't think so. The Jets playing Josh Allen. The Bears, like we just talked about, Goff, by far the best versus man defense. Bears run the most man defense.
And it's home, so he's in the dome.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Saints, maybe.
Yeah, I think the Saints are a reasonable play against Mac Jones with the MASH squad at wide receiver.
We say that, but again, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm about to say something crazy.
If you're going super cheap, to me,
that's the way to go, for sure.
That's probably the best play.
But if you notice, Fields is my favorite QB this week, under 6K.
Right.
Garrett Wilson, my favorite wide receiver this week. He's 6,600. Like, I'm not spent, like, CMC's my favorite back. He's like, what, 73 or 7,500. I have the money this week. And I would rather, like, if McBride was playing against an opponent that struggled with tight ends, but I expected the game to be closer, I would absolutely, like spend on McBride and then just go down and let's do what our normal deal is. But this week, again, with those Niners, Broncos, and Rams matchups, like, I think it's worth the extra, like, and the thing is, none of them are really more than 1,000. You said the Saints is the main one, I think, right? So the Niners are 3,600. So you're talking about $1,100. You can get that just by not playing McBride and going down to like Hunter Henry or one of those guys.
That's true. I will say I half agree with you. I would have a hard time justifying the Ravens, and especially the Niners, actually, just because what if Mac Jones?
Well, I didn't recommend the Ravens now, just for the record.
Okay, sorry. The Broncos.
It was the Niners, Broncos, and the Rams.
I would play the Ravens over the Niners without question. And the reason is, what if Mac Jones is the one who has the meltdown game? What if it's the Saints being set up with short fields the entire game?
Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones all along, Joe. This is his dream.
That's right. He's gonna take the starting job. It's just the revolving door at quarterback there. But honestly, the biggest reason why I don't think I can justify any of those defenses is, why would I want to spend $500 more when I can? Well, here's why I agree with you: the Rams against the Titans. You mentioned earlier that the Titans gave up 133 rushing yards to the running backs last week. That is the exact same number of total yards that offense gained. And yet, it was the Broncos. And the Broncos are arguably the best defense in the NFL, or at least that's what they're hyped up to be. Well, you know who actually had a better pass rush grade on PFF than the Broncos last week? The Los Angeles Rams, with the second best pass rush grade in the NFL.
The Texans, dude.
And
like, they out-physicaled them on the outside everywhere. Like, it was really impressive to me.
Yeah, this was a team that finished second in pass rush grade, and they finished 5th in coverage grade. Like you said, this is legitimately a very talented defense, especially up front. Titans couldn't block anybody last week. Cam Ward's going to hold the ball too long. He's probably going to force some stuff because they're going to be losing. He's probably going to have to. And also, the way he's throwing the ball, it's just going to rocket off those receivers' hands, which is what kept happening last week. And it didn't really turn into turnovers. But the opportunity for turnovers will be there because of that. I will be surprised if they don't get at least 4 sacks. Well, again, if you need the extra 600.
What the Broncos have last, like 6 or 7, I think.
Where are they?
I got it for you.
You're talking. The Broncos scored 14 points.
They had 6 sacks.
6 sacks, yeah. So, 6 sacks is in play. I mean, again, they just got 3 against Houston, and Houston also has an atrocious offensive line. But a quarterback who has experience and is a quick.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud will get rid of the ball when he needs to. Yeah.
So I'd say 3 sacks is the floor here. Like at minimum, we're getting 7 or 8 points, but the chance for that 15 to 20 point game is totally there. So yeah, to me, they're the smash play unless you need to save money, and then go down to the Saints, because if you get a chance to bet against Mac Jones for 2,500, you do it. So yeah, to me, it's one of those two. Every lineup I do, it's one of those two.
That's a great case. The one stat I want to give you guys before we get out of here, and it's really more for GPP, but I was looking up because I was like, man, if I remember correctly, Hurts has had a couple of good games versus the Eagles, and boy, has he ever. He has had 4 games versus these dudes. He's averaging 320 total yards per 2.75 touchdowns. What's wild for Hurts is obviously the Super Bowl game, we know he went nuts. He had like 440 yards, but the Super Bowl 4, he had 370 total yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He had technically 1 bad performance, but in even his first game versus them, his second year in the league, 220 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 70 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. So as much as I was like, man, it's a tough matchup for Hurts, dude kind of owns the Chiefs, and not very many quarterbacks have done that. Like, and I'm even including like Josh Allen and those guys. A lot of times those games are like in the low 20s or, very low scoring. Jalen Hurts has gone bananas. But so give me a real quick preview of the Arizona game. What we got tonight?
I mean, last year we had the
who are they playing? Those I'm saying.
Oh, Kansas State. So
Kansas State.
This is the bizarre thing because of all the conference realignment. This is a non-conference conference. This does not count for the conference standings. We had a home and home with them scheduled the last 2 years. Pac-12 dissolves. Thank you, Larry Scott. Thank you, USC. Great job. But so
y'all are Big 10 too now, right? Or am I getting
Big
confused?
12. So we're in the Big 12. We're in the basketball conference.
Oh, that's why you're saying it's weird. Is Kansas State is also obviously in the Big 12.
Right. So we are in the same conference, but we are not playing a conference game. So the upside is if what happened last year when we scored on our opening drive and then lost, I think like 38-7. That happens again. Doesn't hurt us in the conference standings, but chance to start 3-0. Granted, this is the real actual quality team we have played. A D2 school in Hawaii, so not the highest of competition so far. But after the disaster last year, we're just trying to go to a bowl game. We're not like you Georgia folks where it's playoffs or bust, and even then that's not enough. So yeah, we're just trying to get that 3rd win, get halfway to that 6 for the bowl game. So fingers crossed we win the duel of the Wildcats tonight.
Well, I hope you guys win. Sorry to hear about your parents getting COVID, but
yes,
kind of a good deal for Joe Matz. He wasn't supposed to be having tickets to the game, and now was it you and your brother both? Did y'all give your parents COVID, Joe? Tell me the truth.
No, thankfully there's zero chance it was me.
Oh,
I'm pretty
shots
sure it's
fired at Sam.
No,
I
I'm
see
pretty
it.
sure there's zero chance it was him. I don't think I think the last time I saw my parents was probably like a week and a half ago. So it was not me. I also do not have COVID right now. I've been through it twice. I'm hoping to avoid the third one. And this is actually, they did an incredible job. This is the first time either of them has had COVID. So
wow,
they have outlasted
me and my wife
all of
just
us.
went through this. Like where we just got it for the
That's
first
right.
time.
Yeah. So yeah, it comes for all of us eventually. Last time I heard from them, they have just been sleeping, watching movies. Sounds like it's going okay so far as COVID goes. So,
well, I hope they feel better. I hope you guys get a win.
Hopefully the cats help them. Our Wildcats help them feel better tonight.
Amen to that. Again, check out all the great stuff on Fantasy Six Pack. I do apologize. We're not going to have a GPP show tonight. Unfortunately, Kev's feeling under the weather.
Oh, no.
And no, it's okay, Joe. Like, I mean, I'm serious. Like, dude, we don't get paid. To miss an opportunity like this.
That plus Kevin apparently also feels bad. I'm like, I hope he doesn't have COVID.
Maybe he gave your parents COVID. Who knows?
It's all connected.
Or your parents gave Kev COVID. But we'll be back next week, normal times, 9 for the cash, 10 for the GPP. Both my cash game cheat sheet is up and live on fantasysixpack.net, as well as my main slate preview, where it's really just about one place where you can go up, look the rankings of all defenses, the over-under and spread, just to kind of help you settle some of that. And then like I have like maybe at most 1 or 2 paragraphs with a few notes or stats on the game, but it's really more, in my opinion, something that I always end up looking at that, like all the different rankings and stuff, and it's a pain to be flipping back and forth. And then you just kind of go matchup by matchup, check the totals matchup by matchup. So check that out. The Sunday morning show will be back at 10 o'clock answering your start sit. We have a betting preview. Joe Bond, who finishes top 5 every year on Fantasy Pros rankings, releases his rankings. So it's a lot of fun. And then there's so much content right now on Fantasy Six Pack. Dave Eddy's giving out winning best bets in baseball, like literally every single day. It's outrageous. It kind of makes me sick because I'm not tailing them. And it's like, Keith, like,
and then
he is like, on hot
as soon as I do it, I'm going to blow the streak as soon as I place the bet.
Exactly. So it's a lot of good stuff. And you can always hit me and Joe up. We'd appreciate you guys following us on Twitter. /X, and both of us are the kind of people, I promise you, if you send us a message, as long as we're not busy or something's going on, if I see it and have time, I promise you I'll always love to respond. You can ask people that are in the Discord. We both enjoy doing this, so like I love to talk fantasy football, I love to talk DFS, and so if you ask me a question, I'll give you my opinion. I can't guarantee it's going to be right. I think anybody who's followed the show knows that. So, but anyway, we will be back next week. I hope the big guy, Kev Tompkins, gets feeling better real soon, as well as your parents, even though I know technically they're not feeling bad. But we'll see you guys soon. Hope all your bets, DFS lineups, and your team takes down W's this week.
Except for the Cowboys.